Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 105 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it is me, the LoneVaultWanderer.
And it's me, Karak, with ACG.
Awesome. And we have a doozy of an episode today. We're going to be bouncing over a lot of different topics. But first, as always, if you want to become a part of the podcast, a patron guest, do consider contributing to that. On top of that, we have all of our mobile links in the description down below if you want to listen on the go on any platform of your choosing. And now, let's get into, I think, the number one topic that a lot of us want to talk about this week, which is Bethesda and multiplayer. So what happened was there was a senior core engineer job listing on ZeniMax's website for Bethesda Game Studios, the one in Maryland, not Montreal. So that means it's Todd Howard's team. And one of the desired skills for that was the ability or having experience in creating an online multiplayer environment, hinting at the fact and practically confirming that the next Bethesda Game Studios game, or upcoming one, more likely, will have multiplayer in it. And what I found interesting about this was that when I was doing some research, I remembered that Fallout 4 had a multiplayer mode that was scrapped, and that apparently Bethesda Game Studios tests out multiplayer modes with every single game and see if it sticks, and then they, obviously, up until this point, have scrapped them. So I saw this and was like, not that taken back, because it's obvious they've been wanting to do it for a while. It's just, what kind of multiplayer are they aiming for is what I'm really curious about. Because it's like a Destiny.
The thing that's really weird, though,
versus,
because
I don't know.
If you look at all the job listings from ZeniMax, because there's like 21 of them, including that senior core tech position or whatever it is, and the only one that mentions multiplayer is that one, and the 20 others don't. So I don't know what it actually does mean. Like, who knows? I mean, other positions like graphic designer and level designer and things like that, programmer, don't talk about multiplayer at all. So I don't even know if this indicates whether it would be multiplayer or not.
That's true. No, it could be possible. For me, though, it's just, that's a very weird skill to have a desire for if you have no business in creating a game around that, right?
Yeah.
That wouldn't make much sense to me either. And it could be something when they're talking multiplayer environment. I mean, it could be something as simple as a leaderboard. I don't know. It might not be like this shared world or this co-op that we're thinking of, but based off the games Bethesda creates, you'd imagine it'd be one of the two I just mentioned at least.
Well, and that level of game designer, that's not somebody you come in as an advisor to tell people how to do leaderboards, though. I mean, that's a sort of a pretty detailed job. So I'm just assuming that it's probably more in depth than that. But I'm worried it's going to be something like, you know, some kind of Skyrim card game or something. Oh, no. It won't be. Yeah, I mean, because like I immediately before the podcast when you were telling me about it, I was like, oh, Fallout, Skyrim 2, the 2-inning, you know, I was like, this is going to be good. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait, it could just be like
something small.
You know, something small because Gwent,
mobile game they're working on.
Yeah, I hope it's not, because if you told me Fallout 5 was going to have co-op, just 2 people or 4 people, I would. The desire is already there to play those games, obviously, but the desire would shoot through the roof if it was a full on. It's time. Like, I think it's been time. I mean, since Morrowind, which I'm old, you guys probably didn't get to play that when it first came out, but since Morrowind, like everybody's always wanted the ability to run around, and look how successful Elder Scrolls Online is.
Yeah, and that's interesting because when I first heard of this, right, I was like, all right, multiplayer is a very vague term. It could be any kinds of multiplayer. Right. I wouldn't mind co-op campaign, but it's not necessarily something that I'm actively pushing for. It's more if Bethesda really want to go down this route, and I'm not going to be one to say, no, stop your creative decisions here. I do what I want. If that's what they wanted to do, then I wouldn't mind if it was kind of a co-op campaign kind style of game like Borderlands. But the issue is, even though that sounds nice on paper, is that kind of game style, it's going to flow down through every single design choice that they make for the game. So when you think of a Borderlands, for instance, it's not open world. I mean, it's a hub-based kind of game where you have to fast travel to different areas. Everyone has to be ready. When you go into menus, the menus don't pause, right? The game itself. So those kinds of decisions would, I think, fundamentally affect what game BGS actually develops compared to their past games. And whether you can have a co-op campaign style of game in an open world, is that even feasibly possible? I don't know.
I'm not too concerned about it being a Fallout Online. Some people were asking about that, and the reason I say not is because some fundamental mechanics in Fallout would not work. Now, the argument against that is obviously Bethesda doesn't have a problem changing the fundamentals of Fallout. They added a voice protagonist, for God's sakes. But, I mean, if you were to put Fallout in an online universe, not only would it not really be Fallout, because part of it's those in-between moments of traveling to places where you see, like, death and destruction, and you're like, wow, I'm really alone out here. But if you see, like, 200 plus people running around with you, it's all of a sudden a much different scenario. But also, VATS wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't want to see online. Co-op would be fine.
Yeah,
there's ways you could work around that.
I wouldn't mind
up to 4 people.
Up to 4 people, yeah.
I wouldn't want more than that.
And I think the rumor was it on this podcast? I can't remember which podcast it was, but there was an ex-Bethesda. It wasn't the art guy. Oh, dang, I can't remember. But
there was we had an ex-Bethesda art guy on here.
We did, but I don't think he was the one who told us this, or if it was on this podcast. But I distinctly remember, I'll have to go back and look at my notes. One of the people that I was talking to, they were saying that Bethesda has at times looked at like how the Brotherhood of Steel would work if you were a 4-player. Like, would it be playing one of those characters? Would that make more sense as a squad, right? And how would you tell that story? Would you tell it about the formation of it? Would you tell it about, like, coming out of the nuclear war and Holocaust, and sort of like what you did with 4, but, in a military environment? Like, what would you do? And so I think you're right. I think they've looked at it they have to. They have to basically look at it every time. And all I know is I agree. I would not want to see an online. I mean, I was saying Elder Scrolls is working online, as in it's working. It doesn't need a competitor like Fallout Online. That would actually eat into their own people, probably into their own consumers. Yeah. But a co-op. Can you imagine like turning the PS4 on or your Xbox One on and your PC and playing like 4-player co-op and Fallout?
That'd be so much fun, because we've seen so many mods do it. There's a New Vegas multiplayer mod that's in development, and I mean, it's very early, but
there was a. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, but it's like people want it. There is demand for it.
There's a guy who did a video of what it would look like, and I'll give it to Matty before he posts this if I can. And he did a mock-up of shared VATS time. So if you were in a group of 4, you could share VATS time and use it up. And he actually was like, really, this would work. Yeah, and when he did it, I was like, how would slow motion work for Matty if Karak's over there using slow motion all the fucking time? And it was like, you can't, because it's almost like this balance bar, and it goes over to the other person if you use too much. I was like, how would that work? And then watched him sort of, all he did was split screen the same game and do the same attack. But he's like, if I was this guy and this guy, and I was like, oh shit, that would actually work really well. And it would be sort of cool, because you're overpowered with 4 guys, right, already. So how are you you don't want them all using VATS fucking all the time.
No.
So what do you do? And I think that's one way you could do it, is share the VATS time, do some things there, I wouldn't want them to turn VATS off.
Here's the thing, though, right? Like, I wouldn't mind a co-op campaign kind of game, like Borderlands, 2 to 4 players from BGS, but I will say this, let's not have it be Fallout, let's not have it be Elder Scrolls.
Yeah,
start it with Starfield, right?
I was going to say, it's got to be a new IP. There's already an identity.
Well, it's not that just as there's an identity, because people with Fallout 4, we got to accept that a lot of people were disenfranchised. It's kind of like 50-50. It's a very polarizing game. And it's because they made a lot of different design decisions from past Fallout games, RPG mechanics, voice protagonists, etc. Let's just, well, first of all, let's not have another Fallout game from BGS itself for several years. Let's let that bad taste sour, I guess. But when it comes back to Fallout again, I think the better decision is for BGS to go back to its roots with that game and not touch too much, temper with the fundamental formula too much again. But if it's co-op campaign, just keep it with Starfield. Keep it as a little experiment. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, people can still play the game single player.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I meant to bring this up when we were talking, like, it could just be a Skyrim card game, is they were saying another desired skill was experience with Vulkan and DirectX 12, or DirectX 12. And I know that some Xbox One games, majority are exclusive ones, use DirectX 12. And I know with the Scorpio, they wanted to make that more of a constant thing, so to say.
So you know what it'll be? Skyrim VR for the Scorpio.
You think?
Multiplayer.
Oh
Just
my
joking.
God.
But I'll tell you right now, if you had your VR headset on and I did, and we were playing Skyrim, I don't care what any of us say about wanting to keep those separate. I would be playing it.
Yeah.
I would be playing it all the time.
That'd be fucking wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That if they're talking about specific, languages, of course it might just be that's what they're using, and they need somebody who already knows versus needs to be taught too. So
it's just I was looking at the compatibility between the games that were using these things, and Vulcan was always multiplayer shared universe. Always, it was like Star Citizen,
true.
It was Dota 2, and so on. So I was like, this isn't just coincidental. It isn't just the fact that they're asking for multiplayer. Okay, we could discard that. Maybe that means anything. But when you're also asking to know specific languages, or whatever they're called, and they all have to deal with multiplayer, and oddly enough, one has to kind of deal with an Xbox exclusive. I doubt that'll happen, but still, it does make you scratch your head a little bit at the fact that this is more going down lines as something they need multiplayer for. But if it's just one hiring, I wonder if this is like, Lone, you'll remember this. Remember when we were talking about that news a while back before Fallout 4? I think it was in April of that year. And they hired that guy from Bungie to help with the shooting.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking that could be a similar hire they're doing now. Like, they're doing most of the work internally, and now they're bringing someone in to fine-tune some of the stuff. I know it's a lot different with a multiplayer type of thing. Because I was talking with a viewer on Twitter, and he was like, well, if it's a multiplayer game based off the engine they're doing now and all this stuff, this is probably for a game down the line rather than their next one. And I was thinking, well, maybe they've been working on this, and this is a hiring to bring someone in to fine-tune whatever they've been doing the whole time.
That's what I was saying at the starting. That makes a lot of sense, because otherwise, do you know what you'd see? You'd see more openings. If you're seeing the one opening like this, it probably means they have some people already working on something. Somebody left, and they're replacing it, which is possible as well. If somebody left, but if not, and they need an extra person. I mean, it happens at all software companies where you're like, we need 2 teams, but we don't need to hire 2 teams. We have enough people. Let's have 2 leads. So you hire another lead, and that you just need one person, but they're leading a group that's already been there, and they're being mentored off the current team lead, who's given them the entire timing chart for the game's release. So yeah, it's going to be. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm trying not to read too much into it.
Yeah.
Because again, like with all the other positions that they've hired, like there's 20 plus of them. And if like at least 5 or whatever number of them mentioned you need multiplayer experience, then I'd be like, all right, well, this is indicative of something. It's clear that they're hiring a lot right now for the next game, obviously. And I'm going to assume that it's somewhere middle in development. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Well, let's see. 2015.
Guess. What'd you say?
I've been saying since I think January. I've been saying that I think they're gonna announce a game this year. Bethesda Game Studios. I'm telling you. I think just based off their dev schedule, if it's a 4-year dev cycle, they'll have something.
So 4 years would be 2019.
No, but I'm saying based off pre-production and stuff. They would have started in 2013 after Skyrim was completely done, because Fallout 4 was already in full swing, so they would have started something right after Skyrim.
But Fallout, let's say Fallout 3, 2008, Skyrim 2011, Fallout
Skyrim
4,
was in development
2015.
since 2006, though. So like I said,
but I'm talking in between releases, it's 4 years. So it's not even been 2 years since Fallout 4.
I'm saying 4 years since Skyrim, because they always work on like at least 2 at a time.
They always work on 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we're talking about releases here, like they could be working on it, but still in between their major releases, they haven't released a game more frequently than a 3 year. I thought it was 4 years or something, because it's like 4 years in between their games.
That based off how their dev time works, I've been thinking like it's possible. I wouldn't be surprised is what I'm saying. Like obviously I fucking shit my pants in excitement, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were to actually reveal a game. I don't know where.
Also, remember, if you guys are seeing a bunch, I haven't followed this, but if you guys are seeing a bunch of hires, there's 2 ways that they could probably take care of it. They could already have the money and not worry about a release, or if they've got a bigger team and they're able to do stuff, that 4-year cycle may shorten by a year. There's it's like how much
is that their team
some things
is
can't
considerably
change.
Smaller when it came to releasing their games in that schedule, where they were like a about 100+ man team.
Because they're almost double or triple that now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they're Montreal, and then they obviously are hiring a lot for Maryland. So they confirmed what Bethesda Game Studios Maryland does, which is helps out. Wait, did I say Maryland? I meant Montreal. They help out Maryland though. And
gotcha.
So that means that that's just a big team now, and that means they can get games done a little bit quicker. I hope it doesn't turn into a Ubisoft thing where now we got like Bethesda in fucking Indonesia or something shit like that, and they're
BioWare.
yeah,
they have
literally
studios
cropped up
everywhere.
and all of a sudden like the credits roll, and it's like, yeah, 50 Ubisofts are involved in this.
BioWare, Toledo, Oregon. And you're like, who the fuck lives there, man? There's like 2 guys there delivering newspapers and programming games.
And Ubisoft just opened 2 offices. Like,
They
I
did.
can't remember.
Yeah, they did.
Wild.
Well, Primal
finding it.
was. Did you guys? I was teasing Maddie because. And Maddie, when I was teasing you about Hardline, the reason why I was actually teasing you is because the news had just popped up that how well Primal had done last year, and
How well?
I was laughing.
I didn't see that.
Dude, it was the number 11 top-selling game. It sold incredibly well.
That's crazy.
And it was so funny because I was reading it and I was like, "Oh shit, Battlefield Hard," because that's mine, and Maddie's got his shitty game. And I was looking at it and I was like, no, I mean, a lot of people think Primal's shitty too. Sorry, I was saying both of us have that one game.
I know what you're saying.
But it is funny that when you look at BioWare and you look at Ubisoft, they're I mean, and this is not a negative. I'm going to use a negative word, but they're a plague, man. They're like a herpes simplex. They just popping up everywhere. And it's funny because dude, no, seriously. I went to San Francisco, to meet them as Maddie has to the different events, and you'll see them, and you'll be like, thinking that they traveled like everybody everywhere else, and every time like, no, we work like 3 feet from here. Like,
I was gonna say, like, you guys are everywhere. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, it is. It's insane. Some of these companies are so big, man. I mean, it's monolithic.
My question is, let's say we had to pick an ideal Bethesda Game Studios multiplayer game, outside of the Fallout and Elder Scrolls IP. What would you guys conjure up in your heads as like what you'd want to see?
Okay, so I think out of the bat, what I don't want to see, I just want to nip this in the bud, is your typical competitive deathmatch multiplayer. Not from BGS. I think the kind of multiplayer mode, and we've mentioned it already, that I'd be okay with from BGS is a co-op style campaign game. Okay. And more specifically, if this can be done, because I don't know whether it's been done in the past, maybe there's some obscure game that's done it. But if it's possible to create an actual fully fledged open world that allowed 2 or 4 players to play at the same time, and this might not be technically possible. Like, how can you have 2 people on the different sides of the exact same map? Again, that's different to Borderlands. It gets around that by fast traveling. But if it's possible, it'd be fucking awesome. Having an open world style co-op game where you can play with 2 or 3 of your friends, that would be amazing. I think it would be incredible. And then have it still be somewhat similar to past, Bethesda games. Have an RPG system. You level up. I don't know how it would work with Starfield though, because it seems like it's going to be a space game. So is there going to be space travel or something? I don't know, but it's an idea.
Mine would be so first of all, I got to say, I don't know why we can't choose Skyrim and Fallout, and I am not agreeing to those rules. The first would be Fallout 4.
You'll upset fans.
Here's why. Well, fans probably don't like me anyway. But here's the thing. The reason why I want to say Fallout 4 is this. So let's say Maddie doesn't like the voice protagonist, which it sounded like he didn't from his content or his comment. I can't tell.
I like the voice acting. I felt it took away from the
role playing
and the role playing. Yeah. Not even the role playing, just the choices that you can make, because they clearly limited the script because he had to voice everything.
Right, and then Lone may have a thing or two that he doesn't like about Fallout 4. But the fact is that a lot of new people also came to Fallout 4 and liked it. No, and then there's also a lot of problems for the older folks like us who've played them. What I would like to see is I don't necessarily think absence making the heart grows fonder works in that situation. I would actually like them to look at the problems that they experienced in 4 and then do co-op for Fallout 5 and put it all together. But I get what you guys are saying. You're like, well, some fans consider voice acting to be a no, like you cannot have it. I've never been like that. So I just want to say I would love to have Fallout 4. That's my actual choice. But if we're following the rules of not picking one of those two, I think that Bethesda is trying to do. There's some stuff that's going to come out in the next couple days and weeks about some of these games, but Prey in particular. There's a couple things that are going on behind the scenes that it does seem like they are trying to sort of look at these other IPs. Prey and the way it works, that kind of like a co-op in that world where you never quite know what's going on.
It'd be fucking amazing.
You could do some crazy psychological gameplay in a co-op, which removes you from the military shooter, as Lone said. You know, you don't want fucking Unreal Tournament by these guys.
Yeah.
But it would add this psychological element, which I think Bethesda's trying to hit. Bethesda has continually, you know, they're always trying to hit these little... Yeah, Dishonored. Like, there's always some little bits that they're trying to... There's a heavier storytelling that they want. And so Prey co-op, or not Prey, but those kind of games, you know, something with a narrative heavy, not necessarily gun heavy, but still co-op, could be really enjoyable with mixed powers and stuff. I would like to see that.
That would be awesome, especially combining them in like a Dishonored 2 even.
Yeah. What about you?
For me... I'd have to go with Starfield as just an idea, but I've always thought that like a one extra person, maybe four, but I'd really just like that one other person co-op gameplay in a Starfield universe, because I think Bethesda Game Studios does exploration right, and I've always wondered what would that be like exploring with a friend, and especially if you're in space and you're planet hopping, because what I realized after Andromeda, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just going off like recent memory, is I can't think of like a space game that's really like the definitive space game. Like this is like that's what Mass Effect was, right? I'd say. And since Andromeda wasn't that good, there really isn't that definitive sci-fi RPG now. And it's like that void is open where it would be a perfect place for Bethesda to step in. And since it's a new IP, they're not going to have the conflict they had with Fallout 4 where you introduce a voice protagonist, you introduce settlement modes, which really weren't a problem until after launch. You introduce these new ideas, and you're not going to get that conflict that you would get with an established franchise. I think it's a chance for them to spread their wings, and I think this would be a good spot for them to try multiplayer out, because some people would be like, oh god, they're doing multiplayer, you know, they only do single player stuff. But for me, I'd look at it as they're doing it in a new IP. They've talked about doing it for a while. Let's see how it goes, because I said this in my video, but I learned my lesson with Horizon Zero Dawn. You know, I learned completely that you don't want to discard a game just based on the developer's pedigree, because you don't know how that game that they're working on, that they may have been conjuring up in their head for so long, is going to turn out. And it's hard to believe that the people who made Killzone, a decent franchise, made an amazing game like Horizon. So that's why I'm saying some people are quick to count out Bethesda because, you know, they make buggy games. How can you make a bug-free multiplayer game at that? But I'm getting off track. What I'm saying is that I'd love a shared one player or one other player co-op adventure where you have that Bethesda exploration, but you're planet hopping. So it's almost like you could say different hubs, but each of those hubs is like an open world. I'm making it sound a lot like Mass Effect. But we know Bethesda does things much differently from BioWare in that sense. And I think it would be really cool to see what Bethesda does, because I was talking with a friend of mine about this, that you know, they have their post-apocalyptic RPG. They have their fantasy RPG. Really, the next step would be, we got our sci-fi RPG. And it would be really cool to see what they do with that.
Have you ever played X Frontier, Matty? The X games? The space... So the most recent one, which wasn't great, so long story short, they tried to do what you're basically saying. Okay. You couldn't do co-op, but it was walking around, it was landing at different bases. I could see Bethesda saying, you know, instead of towns, the bases are the towns, you know, the planets are the local wildlife, or the local landscapes, sorry, around it, the moons and stuff like that. And I think that they could make that translation fairly, not easily, but I mean, it does seem to be a mature step for them. Like, it does seem to be the next step. If they're not returning to Fallout, if they're not, you know, returning to Skyrim or something like that, it does seem like a sci-fi game in sort of in the same realm where they can use some of the strengths. Makes sense. I mean, it would be possible. I don't know. 2-player, though. Do you guys think... I'd be a little worried unless it was focused somehow on rewarding teamwork intrinsically, like at the very base level. 2 always seems like there's a chance your friend wouldn't show up, and so you get your ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the gameplay mechanics are going to be...
No, I'm asking you. Like, what do you think about 2 versus... You said 2 in particular, so I was just wondering what was your gameplay idea? What were you thinking?
It was more so that I feel 4 would suck
be too
you out of
much,
the experience. Maybe? Yeah, because part of what makes exploration good is getting kind of lost in the moment, just you and the world. And I feel if you got 4 people in there, it's a little too much.
Jumping and fucking yelling. And
I think if you got one other person, it makes for a different experience. But with that said, you bring up a good point with the gameplay idea, because, you know, I think Mass Effect co-op would be awesome if you think about it, because you can combine all different powers, especially in Andromeda. The combat, I think, is fantastic, and you can really mix and mash different combos. So it's like, what would a Starfield offer? And I think maybe it would take the line of, like, really cool gadgetry, maybe something along the lines of Prey. I think that would be its benefit. It would definitely, I'd imagine, be gunplay focused. I can't see a game from Bethesda Game Studios now not having that, especially if it's a sci-fi game. Yeah. But you know, it just I think of that space level in Wolfenstein all the time. You know, where you're shooting Nazis on the moon.
Yeah.
You know, that's just like the first thing that comes to mind. It's like there's so much potential with like other sci-fi ideas, and that's just like one of them that always comes to mind.
And I think the great thing about just sticking to 2 people playing at any one time is that because there's that constant, it's either 1 people or it's 2 people, you can tie that into the story. I think it'll be manageable. Like, you could have, when 2 people are playing, that become a fundamental part of the narrative, as opposed to, there could be 2, or there could be 3, or there could be 4. Let's just fucking say it's all from one player's perspective, or whatever it is.
That's true.
And when you're sticking with just 2 as a top limit, you can say, all right, well, the narrative can slightly differ if it's just you, or it can change up if it's 2 people. But how that would work, who knows? I mean, what if someone joins late, like mid-game? Would that somehow change the story drastically? I don't know. But yeah, no, it sounds good.
Could be like Divinity Original Sin. That had fantastic co-op RPG elements, you know, because what would happen is you'd start a conversation, someone would be talking to you, and then your friend could chime in with something else, and then you do like almost a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing to decide how the conversation will progress forward. If you had differing ideas, that is, where if one friend's like, I'm going to be an asshole, and you are going to be a good guy, then you'll rock, paper, scissors it, and whatever way it goes, that's how it'll be. So, you know, your friend might win and be an asshole, and you might end up having to kill someone, and then, you know, that'll feed the role-playing points, because you'll get like +1 something, like, I don't know what. I don't remember some of the skills in that game. But, you know, I think that would also be really cool. But with that said, obviously this is going to be an RPG. And I know this is such kind of a out of left field question, but do you think Starfield, since it's going to be a new IP, should we expect like a voice protagonist?
I personally think that they will.
Yeah.
I just do. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like voice protagonists, but I know a lot of people do as well.
I think
this should have been the game that they started with voice protagonists.
I was just going to say, exactly, like Lone just said, I think this should have been the game, and I also think it would have allowed them a little bit more flexibility in like the answers and how you wanted to act. I think that they felt sort of contained, and so it wasn't as bad as Mass Effect, where you were either a good guy, a sarcastic good guy, somewhat of a good guy, or an asshole good guy, but you were always a good guy. You couldn't fucking have any control. And Fallout was a little bit like that, but I think I think Lone's right. Like, this is the game that they should have got the glitches out and tried the voiced protagonist in this game, maybe not Fallout, and then see if it works and see how you do it. You know, Alpha Protocol.
Random idea, right? So with Breath of the Wild, okay, playing that, I thought, like, when I first saw the promotional material for that, they're like, oh, there's going to be voiced characters. And I thought, all right, there's going to be voiced characters. When you play the game, it's people just grunting and making weird sounds. And then sometimes there are the cutscenes that have the voiced characters. So what if it would be like, in any other circumstance, it's just like your character does not talk, and you can pick whatever option you want. But then there are certain cutscenes that are important parts of the game where you do hear your character. Maybe that could work. I don't know. Like, it's just a random idea. It's probably not going to work.
Kind of reminds me of Persona when you say that. I'm not going to lie. Persona 5, you're mostly silent, but there will be times your guy will talk in cutscenes, and it's very brief, and that's new to the series. Like, sometimes your guy would talk in combat in previous entries, but like, I get what you're getting at, is what I'm saying, and that wouldn't be a bad idea. But sometimes even with Persona 5, I'm kind of like, why? It's either do one or the other, I felt.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
or they do the typical thing, which is actually give gamers a fucking choice and have an option to turn the voice off.
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean,
you know what?
Budget.
That would be great. And
Yeah,
the
it
one
is
thing
budget.
I will say, though, even if there was a choice, when you are having to write lines that are then recorded by a voice actor, you're still restricted in terms of, because they're probably going to be like, look, we have to voice record every one of these lines. Let's only have 4 options, you know, in each
Oh, no,
speech
I'm sorry.
dialogue.
I was talking about fans being pissed. Fans could turn it off. That's all I was talking
No, but that's what I'm saying, though, Karak. Even if fans could technically turn it off, but there was still voice protagonist options there, right? That would actually affect how it will operate when the voice protagonist is off. So if they have a voice protagonist, maybe they're going to say, you know what, because we're recording all these lines, we're only going to have 4 speech options in every dialogue scene. It means that we can't really just write a bunch of different options for each dialogue scene because we have to record them all. Like with Fallout 4, it was always 4. It was always 4. It doesn't matter what the speech was. Yeah. With Fallout 3 or New Vegas, sometimes there was 2, sometimes there was 4, sometimes there was 6. And I don't think you ever have that if there was an option where you could hear the voice protagonist. That's the worry that I have.
Yeah, I mean, that's a worry us 3 would have. But the moment the game got released, most consumers have no clue of any of that, so they would just play the 4.
But I mean, hardcore fans do, and not hardcore, but like it's the millions of fans that played Fallout before that. And
but aren't we talking about Starfield? I thought we were talking about Starfield.
So if we're talking about Starfield, sorry, yeah, we're kind of muddling the line, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true because I continually bring it back to Fallout because I want to Fallout. So that's my fault. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I mean, because every decision, just like you said right at the starting of the podcast, you make a decision to change one thing and it blows out into every element of the game. The one thing I will say, I have seen this successfully done, or a good voice dialogue successfully done. That was Alpha Protocol by Obsidian. So. If they could get that,
for that game looked awesome.
Get that shit done, then I think that almost no one would have a problem with it because that was well done and it had tons of options for your choice. So, but again, like Lone said, man, fucking voice actors, dude. I mean, not dissing on them. It's expensive as hell.
Yeah, it is expensive,
it's
especially
insane.
when I get good voice actors.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy who did Hitman, and I was like, holy shit! He's 1 hour is like driving around my car. I mean, it's insane how much
it breaks your soul when I've been going back for a video series of mine and playing Knights of the Old Republic, and we were talking about the amount of options you have, and like in some conversations in Knights of the Old Republic you'll have 8. It's like,
yeah, true.
That's the difference a voice protagonist makes. It's like, is the trade-off of hearing what you're saying worth stripping away options to really play and do what you want, and when you do something, seeing the repercussions around you. I just, as a gamer, I've always found that fundamentally way more rewarding than just hearing a voice. Because if I don't hear the voice, I'm reading it with my own mind. I'm hearing my own voice in the player. So here's the thing, is that when it comes to Starfield, though, I expect it to be voiced too. I agree entirely that they should have waited for Starfield to implement some of these ideas. But I also say with Fallout 4 that they clearly, and you could say, I think it was more apparent after the launch, they clearly had good ideas. They didn't put it in the right series, I think. I
makes sense.
Going forward, I think we'll see the kind of same old Bethesda game studios who pushes things forward, because I think they're going to be refreshed. I know they say, oh yeah, we love working on Elder Scrolls. We love working on Fallout. Look, they're humans. When you're working on the same 2 franchises for over a decade, I'd imagine you want to do something new. Yeah, you want to do something new. I'm not calling them liars, but I know their goal is ultimately to make a very good game. And I think even with Fallout 4, they did that. But I think it's apparent that they need to do something new, because they have ideas they want to try, but I think they're a little afraid to branch out to that new IP. And I think finally, once they saw Fallout 4's success, like crazy amount of sales, they were like, okay, maybe we should do something new, which I think that was a decision ahead of time. But still, if there wasn't a decision by that point, it definitely happened after Fallout 4. There's no doubt in my mind that they decided to do a new IP after that.
Yeah, it's a good spot for them to be in, though, and it's a good time because we've got games like, not to diss on it, but you do have a game like Andromeda, which didn't do so well, and so if you have somebody like Bethesda who wants to step forward. Now, you know, Matty was saying something about like voiced versus not voiced, sometimes having more options. Can you correct me real quick before I move on? Is Mass Effect 1 and 2, I could swear to God there were like 6 options at times, though, even though it was voiced.
Yep, no,
so
you're right.
Mass Effect 1 and 2 seem to have a lot.
No, you're definitely right there.
But definitely not Andromeda. And I think Bethesda could come in and wipe the fucking... I mean, there are different styles of games, obviously. They're different developers. But I do feel like, honestly, Mass Effect left the door... Just being brutally honest, Mass Effect left the door wide open. It was. I mean, a lot of people were not happy with it. It didn't do super well. Even the developers are like, we're trying to fix it. This is a time where if Bethesda said, guess what, guys? We've got your space game right here. Yeah. I think it would be phenomenal. I think there would be
Here's the thing is that, and I'm not saying BioWare and EA obviously do have money, but Bethesda has a lot of money.
Yeah.
they have a lot of money where they could add
built their
those,
banks out of money.
Yeah, they could literally add those 6 speech options with the voice protagonist. They have the money to do that. I just hope they actually make that commitment. I know it's probably hard to invest in a new IP, but I hope that maybe Horizon Zero Dawn outselling, what game was it? I think it was Mass Effect on all 3 consoles, and Horizon was on the one. Yeah, that was. Yeah, you told me that. And you know, I think seeing that should give hope to other new IPs that like you can step in and destroy someone if your game's good enough.
And there you go. The little caveat at the end. If your game's good enough. Which Horizon's a unique son of a bitch. Yeah. I mean,
just make a fucking good game. It's not
just make a good game. Exactly. How many fans? We even do that though. We'll be like, I don't know what they're. How dare they?
I used to be so guilty of that though. I used to be so guilty of simplifying and being like, you want your game to sell, just make it good. Oh. Okay, Matt, you fucking genius.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, exactly. Making it good. Copy that. Yeah. Matty says make it good. Oh, it's good. And then just release it. Yeah.
Imagine like a developer having a board meeting. They all get into the room. All right, what should we do with the next game? I don't know, man, but let's make it good. Yeah, all right, meeting done.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, they just click up my video. He's a fucking genius. Get him in here now. Make it good.
As an advisor, it's they're hiring the guy working on Vulkan and DX12, and they're hiring a guy from YouTube to tell them how to make a game good. This is the success.
Yeah, just like anything they show me, this is good. Could be better though.
Yeah, anything. What about?
But how do you make it good, Matty? I don't know. Just make it good.
Is Blade? No, that's a good idea. Let's use that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just the yes man in the group. Yeah, this is great. This is great. Awesome. I'm happy to be here, guys. This is awesome.
Well, Matty, you could always be like, people just don't understand you. You're high art, man. You're high art.
You're on a higher level, yeah.
Yeah, they just don't get you. Cynicism is leaking out.
Any other thoughts on Bethesda and multiplayer?
Nah, I'm all done.
All right. Let's move on to our next topic. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe reviews. Wait, what?
I do have something.
Okay.
What about Dishonored 3 being like twins, but at the same time? And that being
has to be no. Honestly, Dishonored would work. Like the last Dishonored game, you had 2 characters you could choose from. Imagine being able to play as Emily Corvo, friends together. That'd be fucking insane.
That's
wouldn't
what I'm
it?
saying.
Killing people together.
Would that be okay with you guys? So removing the no Fallout and no what do you call it? You also would Dishonored.
I mean, co-ops in general void, but like co-op stealth is even more when you really think about it.
Is what? Avoid? You mean there's
like,
a lot of
there's hardly anything there.
It just popped into my head how awesome it would be to like a team of assassins.
I mean, I think any Arcane Studios game in co-op would be amazing because they make the best levels. They're so fucking good.
Anyway, yeah, I was just wondering.
But I wanted to just talk about this Mario Kart 8 Deluxe reviews. Just out of, I'm not gonna lie, pure excitement. I'm not a big Mario Kart guy. I think it was last episode. I said how like I got waxed by some girl I was dating, and I haven't played it since. But seeing like the 10s, the 5 out of 5s, it's pretty
94
astounding.
On Metacritic.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Lone, are you copping it, dude? Big Switch guy.
Dude, I'm getting it without a doubt, and because I know some people might not be completely on board with it because they've just played it in the Wii U version, but obviously I'm going to assume that there's exactly like not many people play Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U because not many people owned a Wii U, and the Switch, again, I've mentioned this in the past, it's meant to be the console to bring back fans that likely haven't played the Wii U and haven't played the games on it. So when we look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, we're like, oh, it's sweet. New Mario Kart game. I haven't played this before. And the ratings seem to be fucking very, very good. And I was a huge fan of Mario Kart games. Like, I still think that Mario Kart 64 was the best game ever, even though it really wasn't.
Ever.
It was a fun game
experience.
to play. Yeah.
It was one of the best experiences ever.
It was one of the best experiences, but you go back, you look at the scores for it, and you say, all right, there were a lot of problems with it, but this actually seems like a very
weird,
solid Mario
while
Kart
everyone's
game.
playing that on their 64, I was playing Cruisin' USA.
So was I, and wrestling. There was one of the shitty
I had the
wrestling
fucking,
games.
The plastic wheel and shit. I still have it in my closet. No, that
This
was
big.
amazing. Yeah.
You can only play Cruisin' USA on like the actual arcade, right? Like,
No, I have it for the N64. I have like Cruisin'.
I think he's saying it's hard to play because of the way it plays.
I'm saying that I think I'd prefer to just play it on like big arcade machine, whatever you would call it.
Sort of
Cruisin'
feels
USA,
right.
because that was fun. Yeah, it does feel right. But no, I'm super stoked for Mario Kart 8, picking it up as soon as it comes out here in like 5 days or something.
Is it out in America, Matt?
Comes out, I think, next Tuesday, I want to say.
Yeah, I think that's the same for us.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, the game looks. I'm not a big Mario Kart guy personally, but it's not just the reviews. I wanted to hear if like I guess you could call it a port, was good. But for me, I realized I haven't played a Mario Kart game in ages, and I thought to myself that once I'm done with Zelda, it's like, what's next? And it's nice to now know I'm gonna have like another option to play something good at that. But yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna echo what Lone said. It's just really exciting. So I'm probably gonna pick that up as well, because there's like this itch that needs scratching, and I feel like I need like. Usually I play 3 games at a time, and one of them I like to be just mindless whatever. And I feel like Mario Kart 8 will be that next mindless whatever game, because it just looks like a lot of fun. And I mean, especially it comes with all the DLC.
Yeah, it comes with everything.
Yeah, like all these new racers, new maps and stuff, and just to see it on the Switch, apparently like it looks really crisp on both the dock mode and the handheld, obviously. So I'm definitely really looking forward to it.
And this is going to be a good test for the Switch's multiplayer capabilities, because
yeah.
I know there are multiplayer games on the Switch, but like I haven't played any of them.
Yeah, there was like Super Bomber, I think.
Online. Hey, Lone, what's your friend code? Here it is. And then, okay, we can't even message each other. Like that's all we really have with the Switch right now. Like I can see who's online, what friends I have, and that's about it. So yeah, maybe Bomberman R does have multiplayer capabilities. I think I've heard that there were issues with those. But it'll be good to actually see how Mario Kart operates. I don't know whether there's going to be in-game voice chat, though. Don't think so. That would be cool. That would be fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. How sad is it, though, when you really think about it? How sad is it that we don't know that? Really?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the best bit about Mario Kart is when you're playing with friends and family or whatever it is, you're talking shit. Like, it really is. Like, you're having fun and you're talking to each other. That's the beauty about Mario Kart. That's how a lot of us played it back in the 64 and SNES days. And without that, like, if you're just, like, playing Mario Kart, and like, if you're playing on your own, it's different. But if you're playing Mario Kart with other people and you're not really talking to them, that would feel weird for me. It'd be a weird disconnect.
Yeah. I know it said there was local and online play. I forgot about that. I think that was something that was added in. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's looking like the good stuff. Karak, is this enough for you to dust off the Switch?
No. Matter of fact, I'm very close to selling it.
Oh man,
really?
Yeah, I'm not. We discussed it like last podcast, and I really thought about it, and I was like, covering it's such a difficult. It's so difficult on the channel to cover it and know what you can say and do, and. Zelda is okay, but its performance is when I see other games where they're like, the performance really bothers me in that game. It's the kind of game where I really want it to be good. Like I really want it to be good for that particular game, and it's not. It's their premier game. It's the same thing Master Chief Collection for fucking Halo. Like if I could have punched Phil Spencer right in the face, I would have. Like it was a horrible release. No, come on.
No,
the biggest name on your entire console. And you failed utterly. Now, Nintendo nowhere near failing utterly. It's just got some frame rate issues, but it bothers me enough. And then like Mario, we all talk about like what it was like playing those games because I loved them. But I don't have anybody who's sitting next to me playing half of these. And I think that
true.
can pull a little bit away from you. And looking at the Switch and what they're offering now, I could get rid of it, even out the money pretty much, and then maybe later buy it again, maybe if Nintendo sort of fixes some of their stuff. But, I don't even, I'll just be honest. I don't even look for their games for review. What I mean is I don't even email anybody. I'm just
That's saying something, because like a lot of times, and I pay attention, for me personally, I think I pay good attention to what games I want to review, and like, there are times I'll look at your channel and be like, oh, fuck, I can't believe I didn't even request that one. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, oh, shit. I was like, what? That came out.
Yeah, so that tells you, because I request a lot, and I have no actual issue with it. I think it's just not hitting me as a consumer right now with what it's offering. So I think if, Doom, I know this sounds weird, but if they said, here's a Doom 64, here's Quake 64, here's Hexen 64, here's a couple 64 ports, here's a couple of these style games, I might be more interested. But right now,
console on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now I have a hard time. I bounce off of it a lot. What I mean is it's there, and you have those moments where you're like, I'm going to pick it up and play it, but it's also in front of my computer, which I know will run a game right. And then I'm just like, oh, okay. And again, covering it's difficult. I mean, my job right now is all the channel, and I think that does impact what I can play in my downtime.
Absolutely.
And if I was a little less busy, I'd probably, it'd probably be a lot easier. I mean, I'm glad Mario Kart's coming out, but it's really also gives me this weird feeling that we're talking about Mario Kart as being the game that we're talking about at all. Like that it's not a new IP, or it's not
it's not even a third-party game.
Same thing with Xbox and Sony, by the way, when they do it. I just am like, God, it's not Killzone, it's Horizon. That's awesome, right? We're celebrating it because it's new and it's awesome. And I usually don't have a problem with old, but I don't know. Lone's right. I'm probably wrong. Lone's right. He said, it's there for people who didn't buy the Wii U, which is pretty much the Earth. So it makes sense. It makes sense. It's just not.
Well, no, I mean, that's the thing. I don't think you have to fully explain yourself. I mean, truth be told, is I like my Switch a lot, but I have not touched it in a while. Now, part of that's because I've been busy with a lot of other games, like really just Persona 5 and Overwatch at this point in time, Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 for a review. But, there have been plenty of times I could have picked it up, but it's like, I also don't want to beat Zelda too fast because I know there's nothing else after that. Now I know there's
exactly
Mario Kart after for me, so I'm intrigued in that game. So I'll be probably playing more Zelda now because I know once I'm done with that, there's more adventures to be had on the Switch.
Okay, well then, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But I think there shouldn't be an argument that the Switch, I'm glad it's being supported by consumers, but in the terms of unit sales, but I think there's no denying that it definitely lacks games still. I saw that, I think it was a tweet or something, and it has like a monthly exclusive the entire year, but there's no third parties. And like, that's what it needs. You're pleasing your fans. They do a great job of pleasing their fans. Absolutely. I'll never disagree with that, I think. And at least in the game department, maybe in some of their choices with the hardware and approaches to YouTube, and multiplayer is kind of finicky and whatnot, but when it comes to their games, I think they do a good job satisfying their hardcore fans. They need to appeal to the broader spectrum now.
Yeah.
Or what would you? I mean, so yours is Mario. If you were to say, if you switched Mario out and had replaced it with Metroid, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation on my side, because that would probably be more my thing, or Pilot Wings, or
the thing is, Metroid. It's like, how have you not done that? That's
Blast Core or something.
Metroid's Prime was a fucking blast. I don't know how you don't follow up anything with Metroid.
That's it. That's the thing that keeps coming back is, why are they not there? It's not even that they're not. We all agree. Like, that's okay. But why is very interesting. And I think in 5-6 years, when the story about how this all got created is going to be pretty interesting, because I have a feeling we're going to find out that like a lot of games got halfway made for the Wii U and then had to switch to Switch. Or something like that, because it's oddly lean. I mean, even for a new system, it feels that way.
For sure.
Okay.
Up next, Call of Duty World War II. It's getting its worldwide reveal on April 26th. He's laughing.
Dude! I mean, come on.
Hey, you don't like the idea of it, or?
You guys go first.
All right, so I'll start off because
I
I know my opinion's a little bit different, probably contrary to a lot of people's out there. I'll start off by saying this: is that people that are well aware I have no problem taking a fucking dump on Activision's chest. But this is one of the few times I'll say I thought this was a smart move, and people have said that, oh, they're copying Battlefield 1. Here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that Battlefield 1 came out end of 2016, and that decision to make Battlefield 1 was probably made around the same time that Call of Duty World War II was made, because they're on 3-year dev cycles. So, I mean, that's one thing I want to say, is because a lot of people are like, oh, they're copying Battlefield. It's like, look, I'll take a shit on Activision whenever I get the chance, don't get me wrong, but that's one thing that needs to be clarified. They have people who identify these trends. They saw this trend switch coming. They were just behind Battlefield on this one. That's what happened. For me, I think it's a smart choice, though, overall. My favorite Call of Duty is World at War. I actually went back and played a little bit of it today for a video, but also just for my own, is it nostalgia? What do I like about it? And, the campaign, it's like gripping from the start in a way that I don't think many other COD campaigns have. I think the in-between mission screens have this really unique art style you don't see nowadays.
Yeah.
It was the birth of Nazi zombies. I mean, the multiplayer I thought was more nostalgia than anything for me. But, I think it offered something for everybody. And that's what's exciting to me about seeing a Call of Duty World War II. My biggest fear, though, and I made sure to express this in my video, was it's Sledgehammer Games. They co-developed Modern Warfare 3. Steaming pile of shit. They developed Advanced Warfare. If there was not a COD Ghost, that would be the worst Call of Duty there is. Because, COD is a Twitch shooter, and Advanced Warfare somehow made it past a Twitch shooter where I don't even want to say it's a reflex-based game anymore. Like, anytime you're getting shot at, just, if you have a scuff, just fucking smack the paddle, and you're just out of the line of sight. And it made the game less competitive because there was just so much flying around and too much going on. It was hard to track. And I say that as someone who played the game, not Advanced Warfare, but who played Call of Duty competitively for many years, where I'm into that type of stuff. I try to analyze the game on that level as well, and it was just so fundamentally fucking broken, where it's like, now they got in this cycle of futuristic, and now they're going back to their roots, and history will repeat itself, just like it did back when Call of Duty was first introduced, where there was World War II, oh my god, do something else, and then we got COD 4. So, long-winded response is that I think this is a smart idea. It's not going to fix that the game has had a couple of bad stories in a row, where COD campaigns sometimes could be maybe a guilty pleasure or something like that. It doesn't. It might fix the fact that multiplayer might become a little more skill based rather than this fucking crazy wall running jump jet bullshit. And it might change the fact that there's not going to be 1,000,001 insane fucking kill streaks that will mow you down. I think the limitations are going to be its biggest benefit, because it'll be a little more simplistic in that nature. So all in all, I think it was a smart choice.
Look, I think it was a smart choice too, and I agree with you, Matty, that obviously they decided to do a World War II shooter, but I'm not going to say before they knew Battlefield or whatever it is. Like, I'm going to assume they're in
around the same time. They probably both made the same decision.
And they probably didn't know that each company made the decision. Maybe they have people listening in. I don't know, but that aside, I think it is the right choice, because I'm a huge fan of, especially if you're having annual releases, trying to mix it up, because when you have annual releases and you decide to stick with a particular theme like futuristic shooter, and you do that 3 or 4 times, that's like 4 games in 4 years. Like, it's a lot. Right, and by that stage it gets oversaturated, and you need to mix it up. And I think people were feeling that with this kind of futuristic style of Call of Duty, especially where, like Matty said, when you get to these crazy kill streaks and wall running and all that stuff, it becomes less about skill and more just about crazy, stupid perks and shit. But Call of Duty's always kind of had that issue. There's always been like problem perks and problem kill streaks. That were just overpowered.
But I mean, when you don't have like 40 fucking attack choppers flying overhead and predator missiles and shit.
I would like to see them, like with World War II, I think it provides the perfect platform for this. Just go back to the roots, be a bit more simple. I know it's not going to happen like this. Like, I still fully expect there to be crazy weapons and crazy kill streaks, because it's a Call of Duty game. It's pretty much like an action movie in video game format. But if they go back to their roots, make it more simple, make it about the skill, I think it'll be really successful. And then I fully well expect with DLC that they're going to add a bunch of crazy shit to the multiplayer.
See,
but I think it's a good idea.
Cut you off, but I just feel like what they should do is if you want to express that crazy side, express it in the Nazi zombies. Fucking do it there. You know what I'm saying? That's where the crazy should be explored. But
you know me, I'm not a fan with having Nazi zombies in every single Call of Duty. I think it was the right amount of zombies when it was back in the day when it was every 2 years with Treyarch and Activision. Now it would be once every 3 years, and that's maybe too infrequent. But once every year is just too frequent for me, anyways.
Now it's just like all of them are so, and then Treyarch comes out. It's like this is obviously the fucking, not even just bias. It's like this is just really good.
It's just the better. Well, yeah. Well, they have the most experience. They fucking created the game.
No, I know.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. It's just that it's almost unfair to the other developers.
Pretty much.
I think Infinity Ward had like one zombies mode. I don't remember which one it was, but apparently like lots of fans liked it. But other than that, it seems like Treyarch is the only one that's caught on. But
I think the question that I really am asking myself is this actually going to be enough for me to buy Call of Duty and play it again? My answer is probably no. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether I'll buy this game.
What about you?
And that's just a personal thing.
My laughter was because I didn't think you guys would agree with me, but we all pretty much agree.
Oh wow! I thought you laughed.
I like all of them. I've always liked I actually got a lot of shit because I didn't like all of them. Some of them weren't as good as others. I'm not as over the top as like saying they're shit, but there's a couple that I'm not a huge fan of. Mm-hmm. One of the things I have been liking about the Call of Duties, which I'm not quite sure this one will do it, is they become the old, I guess, what year was this? This would have been the Dreamcast, Xbox One, Mortal Kombats of shooters. And what I mean by that is back in the day, Mortal Kombat Armageddon wasn't just a 2D fighter. It also had Puzzle Fighter, and it also had a racing game. These are some of my favorite games of all time. One of the reasons why is because of the different modes, right?
Yeah,
and so
an awesome game.
I liked space. I liked Infinite Warfare, the Battlestar Galactica space flying around. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was different. The one prior to that had you able to play the entire campaign, but with a different storyline involving zombies. I thought that was really interesting. Plus, they both have the zombies side modes. So I'm cool with it. And one of my favorite games, not my favorite, but is World at War, Kiefer Sutherland and the awesome fucking like graphics, like Maddie was saying, between the cutscenes. Then there's Medal of Honor Airborne, which I liked.
What a fucking game! I love that.
Probably one of my favorite games of all time. And so I'm really excited to see it. Actually, we all pretty much agree. Like, I'm not a big. I don't think that they needed to not do futuristic, and I also don't think they needed to do World War II. Though I would have loved Vietnam. I would have loved. There are
Shell Shock series. Have you ever played that?
Yes.
Pretty underrated.
67, it had a number after it. It was like Shell Shock 60, 76, 67. I have to look at history, but that's the thing. Mankind, the glorious thing about us is we fucking kill one another all the time. So let's go out and let's show some different killing instead of World War II. And that's what I was sort of, to be honest, was hoping for. I was hoping they were going to say, like Battlefield Vietnam, they did, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
1942 or something along those lines. I
would have loved a Vietnam. I would have just. I don't know. I would have loved
Black Ops was Cold War. Never mind.
Was it Cold War? Was all three of Black Ops? Okay.
I don't think all three were not. Black Ops 1, I remember.
Black Ops were amazing games, man. Love those games.
They can do it. They can do a good game. That's the cool thing, is they can. But it is Sledgehammer, like Maddie said. So it's different. It's like BioWare.
So this is their third attempt at a Call of Duty game, like on their own. I mean, third time's the charm, right?
Here's the thing: is that this is different enough where they don't. Because what I felt they did horribly wrong was they added too many erratic gameplay elements that made it just like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Right.
And I don't like that too much. I like chaos. I think that could be exciting. I think it could lead to those moments where you just lock in and like everything's in slow-mo, even though it's like going really fast. Those moments are awesome. But I think Advanced Warfare, it just took it like that step way too far.
Yeah, and sometimes go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think putting them in this era, maybe those restrictions where they can't have the jump jets and stuff. Oh, we got to do something different. It's like, what are they going to come up with? That's the question that I need answered. And I really hope that they take the reveal of Call of Duty a different path, and instead of doing because I think one of Infinite Warfare's biggest enemies was the fact that when they revealed it, it was like dislike the shit, and they had nothing to show afterwards, and it just festered and got worse. Is that I wish they changed it up a little bit where they didn't hold back the multiplayer reveal for so long. Because let's be honest, I think although there are people who buy the game for the COD campaign, I understand why, because it can be good. A lot of people buy it for the multiplayer, and I wish they showed that off a little bit sooner. Because I think, Infinite Warfare, its multiplayer wasn't awful. It was definitely something. I felt it had the same problem as Advanced Warfare, just a little less worse.
Very fast.
Yeah. But I think it was, for how many years in a row COD's had that, I think for the people who've been playing it, I think it aged fine. And yeah, it's just, I'm just happy.
I want to make a suggestion. All right. This is why my one thing with the next Call of Duty game, and some people might disagree with me, but I just remember my last memories, my lasting memories of Call of Duty games is if I want to play multiplayer, I'll go in, regardless of the fact that there weren't that many people playing. But when you'd go in, there's like 20 different game modes, probably exaggerating with that. 20 different game modes. Everyone's playing deathmatch. Maybe some people playing S&D, and everything else is just empty. Like they're barren waste fields, right?
Yep.
What I would like to see with this Call of Duty is just fewer game modes. Like don't go more than 5, maybe even less than that. Like the thing I like about Overwatch, for instance, when you go into multiplayer, it's just one thing. You click on the button, everyone gets search together, whatever you call it, and you put into the same game modes, and they mix it up every now and again. But with Call of Duty, it's just like the single playlists, and everyone's playing deathmatch, and everything else is just empty, and you can never find a game properly. So what I would prefer, have your deathmatch playlist, because I'm sure many people are going to really love that, and most people are going to play it. But even if just have like a second, not just S&D, but kind of like a strategic playlist where it has S&D, it has all those kinds of, I can't remember the names of them now, but what's the one where there's kind of different, there's like 3 different points around the map and you're all trying to capture.
Well, like capture the flag, kind of.
It's
like
I was just looking it up to verify if it was in any games afterwards. War. You're talking about War, right?
War, is it?
Are you talking about World at War right now?
No, he's just talking about all the
game modes.
games.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I was half listening. Domination?
No, he was just talking about game modes.
Domination.
As a whole.
No, thank you. No,
Yeah,
so have S&D, have Domination, and maybe Capture the Flag. Have those 3 game modes in one playlist. And then have you alternate between them, because they're at least somewhat strategic, and it's not like you have 3 different playlists with those game modes, and the I guess the player base is stretched between those 3. I'd prefer to have them come together, because while I do like playing one game mode like S&D over and over and over, what I don't like is not having any players to play with, because some are in Capture the Flag, some are in Domination, some are in these other modes, and then everyone's in Deathmatch. So bring the strategic ones together, have Deathmatch, and maybe have one other playlist that's kind of like the crazy stuff.
I also think they could reward people for playing modes that aren't played as much. So if you did like double XP on Assault because nobody's playing Assault or whatever, then you get some people playing that. And then when I log in and I see people are playing Assault, I'm like, oh, this is new and I can try that. I don't know of any game that actually currently rewards folks for the different modes differently because they're not being played. And I talked to a couple people and I'm like, why has nobody just tried it just to see if you can like shape a little bit of your traffic by the same reward mechanisms you already have in all your fucking modes anyway. Like, I mean,
you spend time building. You want someone to
2X weekend. We've seen that 8 billion times. Like,
I mean, what I was going to say was bring back War. I don't know why that hasn't been brought back. The War game mode was, I'd say, definitely the best in Call of Duty.
Yeah, it was the best one.
Just because it fit the theme of the universe you were playing in, and it had a clear objective, and it was momentum based. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know why it was never really brought back. I was just looking it up on the Call of Duty wiki, and it's only been in Call of Duty 3 and World at War, and I was shocked to see that. I thought maybe I had missed it. Maybe it was brought back in another one. So now would be a perfect time to bring it back in the game mode or the game that we saw in the World War II era for the last time. Bring back World War or bring back War.
Like I just wanted to say, so Infinite Warfare, I've just found this list of all the multiplayer game modes. These might have changed, but let's say that this is true. I want to go through the entire list. All right, this is all multiplayer game modes. Capture the Flag,
just Infinite War.
In just Infinite Warfare, right? Capture the flag, defender, demolition, domination, drop zone, free-for-all, frontline, grind, gun game, hardpoint, infected, kill confirmed, reinforce, search and destroy, search and rescue, TDM, and uplink. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's
like
17.
you got to link together
17.
at least search and destroy and search and rescue, and that's
Link together,
insane.
search and destroy, search and rescue, and like a couple of other of those strategic game modes, right? Have fun ones like gun game and I like free for all on its own, to be honest, but gun game, maybe infected, kill confirmed, bring those together. So at least you have your fun game, your playlist.
In Black Ops, they had a playlist. I forgot what it was called, but it was like I
remember that.
I forgot the name of the playlist. It was like party games or some shit like that.
And have that. So you have your party games, you have your kind of S&D strategic, stealthy kind of game styles. You have your free for all, and you have your TDM. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd like. And then you're not having such a stretched out player base, because even nowadays, like, I think we need to accept that not as many people play Call of Duty. So when you jump on, it's still harder to play a game than it ever was before, but you still have the same amount, if not more, game modes, and play base is just stretched thin. So let's combine it. Let's have not more than 5.
Yeah, no,
I
think I think there could be some streamlining. I think there's also that could be your enemy, because then it starts to look a little barren in the game mode thing, even if in context it's not. Yeah. I think it can be your enemy when people click on it and are like, what the fuck? There's only a few things to play, when you don't realize it's all mashed together. But on the other token, you got to look at Battlefield 1. I was just playing that today as well, just to kind of once again just get the World War vibes going, and I think that had only a few game modes. Obviously, it's much different because Battlefield 1's maps are huge, and for each mode, you're carving it up a little bit differently. But still, I think they could work off of that type of formula too, of just making a big map and cutting it up for different modes, where like you have domination on this same map in this quadrant of the map, but you have capture the flag on the other side. You know what I'm saying? And so it's the same map itself, but for the modes, how do I word it? Okay, let's say it's a city. It's the same city for each of those maps, but there's different parts of that city for the modes. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that would be cool too. Anything else on COD World at War or World War II? I wonder how many people have called it World at War II already.
Like maybe I'll pick it up, and this will be the chance for like my old mates that we used to play Call of Duty with, or I used to play Call of Duty with, for us to come back together and have one last hoorah, and we'll see how it goes. But I don't know.
For me, it's like I'm not going to decide if I'm going to buy it until I see more on it. But I just call it smart, because I think they've done a good job to intrigue people like me who have become disenfranchised and re-stimulated those who were still invested and are like, oh, let's go, something different. So I think it was a smart move across the board.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Karak? Nada?
No, not until we see more of it, because like you said, if it looks like a game where your guns shoot out bald eagles that have drones on them, then I'm just like, what the fuck ever. But World War II, hopefully we won't see that, right? Like, hopefully we'll just see the pared down. I could deal with far more skill-based, far less package-based gameplay, even though I don't hate them. But there's a place for that, and so that would be my hope too. But I'm sort of saddened by the fact that no one's really got it. No one's really got it very right lately. It seems to be blown up in every game. Overwatch is probably one of the games that I personally think isn't where the shit's blown up, where you pretty much know what does what win. And there's not as much surprise, I guess, because it's like surprise butt sex, and you're like, wait, what just happened? I mean, I'm not lying. A lot of those games, you're dead, and you're like, I have to watch the replay because some motherfucker threw a knife from 700 yards away, and it bounced off the statue's arm and killed me because he knew I spawned there. Or these weird packages. So I'm really excited to see if what you said is true, or turns out to be true, and if it leans down. I'm really excited for that. That would be very fun.
Speaking of, wait, what were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Oh, I was gonna say that. Let's move on to. I just thought this was interesting, not because we're like big fans of this game, but this company's always fascinated me for its very odd choices. And Two Worlds 2 is getting a season pass after 6 years.
Love that game.
Yeah, Two Worlds is a cult classic, I'd say. The first one was like, I think it released at the wrong time, but it definitely wasn't that good. But 2 was like a good improvement. That's a big game. That's a
Yeah,
big
it's a
game.
huge game.
There's a lot to do in that game, and to see that it's getting a season pass 6 years later. This is a 10-hour adventure, $15 piece of DLC. The Battle is something, I think it was called, but what?
That's unheard of, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say what?
To get
your game is on like the 360 and stuff. Who's playing still that you're building this DLC for? I gotta ask, like, what's going on?
Yeah, this reminds me, and it's not as bad, which is why I'm so surprised with this. But Matty, do you remember with Rage? So Rage was a game that I tried to get every achievement on, and I did that pretty much at launch of the game. And then I got all the achievements. I sold the game, and about a year later, my mate goes to me because he did it with me as well, and he's like, we haven't got all the achievements for Rage now. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? They just released a DLC for it like a year later with no warning, no marketing from what I remember. And this is 6 years. It's just insane.
Maybe it was a part of their plans and they just got it out the door. But didn't they say, they said already that they're doing Two Worlds 3, I think.
They are.
Maybe this is the build up to it.
So just so you know, man, I wish I could find the data. There is definitely a legal thing that occurred within their company. And I can't remember if it was I can't remember if it was an owner or so forth, but there was definitely something that occurred that I remember because this has been announced to have gone out many times, and now it's 6 years later. So they've talked about these because there was a Pirates. It was called Pirates something that they tried to do or did. I think there was some behind the scenes weirdness there that went on. But, talking to developers like we do who are smaller, Matty, sometimes they'll say something to you like how Humble Bundle helps them or gets a ton of people playing. If they've got some Steam stats, that indicate that people are playing it with sales or whatever, and they look at it and they go, you know what, with Steam sales, people are already returning. Let's go ahead and finish this up. It also might have taken that many years because it is a insanely small company. So there is, it's like 12, 16 at current count. Yeah. So, and then Two Worlds 3 was announced. It's currently in the concept stage and scheduled for development 2019.
Development in 2019.
Yeah.
So at that rate, it's not going to be out till like 2025.
Sorry, I said scheduled for development, but it says scheduled for development with release scheduled in 2019.
Oh, shit.
I apologize.
Okay. No,
I apologize.
Fine. That's, wow. I mean, it could be a very smart marketing technique, because once I heard that, I was like, when was the last time I played
It's all over the news, dude.
Yeah, it's like, I kind of want to go play.
Yeah, every news, every website is Destructoid's talking about it. So it's like, that's the way to get your game back in people's minds.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I love those types of games. Those overhead, just endless questing type of games.
Yep.
It was
so look, have a look at this. I'm checking the Steam Spy for Two Worlds 2, and in the past 2 weeks, they have around 7,000 plus players with a fluctuation of around 2,500. So, is that enough for?
Not bad.
That's not bad for a game. Well, number one, that's not like a popular game like where maybe there's like YouTube.
It's better than No Man's Sky was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's even better than Battlefront.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's not bad at all.
And that's just Steam.
But is it good enough to, I guess, release the season pass now? Like, I don't know whether they're intending to make money for it. Maybe they're like, you know what?
Exactly.
We have some extra budget. We don't really care. We'll have a couple people work on this and send out a season pass.
My thoughts are that it doesn't sound smart if you're trying to make money off of it. It sounds like a waste of money if you're not going to. So I'm guessing it's more along the lines of what Karak said, that there was some legal thing that held them back, and then they finally are able to get it out the door, and they're just like, "Fuck it, let's do it." And they knew they was gonna make news, so they finished it up, and it's working.
And it worked.
Oh dear God! They just announced they have another DLC expansion after this one called Shattered Embrace that'll come out in October or December, plus 2 new multiplayer maps. Oh, I forgot their multiplayer actually is strangely popular.
Oh, they have
there was somebody they have multiplayer, and somebody was telling me a couple days ago that they didn't even know, and they went and checked, and there were like a ton of people playing. It's one of those games where like Maddie may own it, I may own it, and Lone may own it. We might be the only ones thinking we're playing, and then you'll go online one time to multiplayer, and you'll be like, "Holy shit! There's people in like Australia playing it, or people in fucking Taiwan playing it," where you just don't expect it. Yeah, that's cool.
I didn't know they had multiplayer. What's the multiplayer like?
But I don't even remember, dude. 2000, that was fucking Xbox 360, by the way, when that came out. So I don't even remember. I think there was co-op, if I remember right. I could be wrong. I don't remember much about the multiplayer, but they've got new maps coming in October for it. So 7,000 people playing daily.
That's all right.
That's better than I ever thought it was going to be.
That's not bad, dude. That's not bad.
I thought you were going to say 700, and I still would have been, that's more than I thought it was going to be. So
that's not bad. I mean, that's more than, here's the thing is you'll see spikes on certain days. And I went on World at War today to try to get some multiplayer gameplay, and I couldn't get into a server that wasn't like, I couldn't get into a server in general, really, because like there was like 2 full ones, and they were both like hacked ones. That have like mods in them and stuff. You don't really want to touch those, but so that's really impressive that Two Worlds 2 has got 7,000 concurrent players a day or something like that.
Well, it's plays. I don't even know how to read this. It says players in the last 2 weeks. So it's got 7,000 plus or minus 2,400. So my assumption is that it could be minus 2,400, and that's at the very least every day.
The lowest.
That's the people playing that game. I don't know. Like they don't have concurrent daily. Doesn't even show it. So
I think you have to own. If you're looking at Steam Spy, I'm pretty sure you have to subscribe to them to get some of those more broke down. So
the great service.
But I'm going to tell you right now, if it was 700, I would still, like I said, I would actually have been quite happy with that. I would have been like, okay, that's it's they have had some sales and games like that. I don't know if you guys play those, but I'm it sounds like Maddie does. I'm sort of a just one of those guys who buys those games. Raven's Cry, terrible, but it's sort of like that. I love those kind of things, and I know a lot of people who that Euro jank, as we used to call it, they love those Euro jank games. They're like, they fall apart. Gothic 3 is great, but it like barely runs half the time, and you love it for some reason.
That's what I've been feeling with certain games is that sometimes there's this, I say this in quotes, charm to the low budget game.
Yeah.
And people just really like that, and I get why. Sometimes I don't think it's something you can look past because, you'll have this blatant technical issue, and I don't think there's any charm to that. But, I get where people are coming from. There's those games that you see and you want to support it. I know it's completely different because the game actually works and it's really good, but, like, that's how I felt about, like, Darkest Dungeon. I was like, this isn't an insanely... Maybe it is more popular than I think, but, it's not, like, crazy popular, but it's that game I was like, I want to support this, even if I'm not going to play it a ton. And so,
fair enough.
Last topic I have written down is Destiny 2 having space battles.
Yeah. So, a couple other people also said something, so I guess I can mention it. But yeah, I got a contact from Twitter who was like, I checked them out, and they're valid, and they basically said that we'll start hearing more about it in the next couple weeks, but that there are full-on Battlefront style, like space battles going on.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I asked a little bit more, and it was a little hedgy. It was like, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna say this, and then you're gonna verify that it's true when it gets announced, and then I'll tell you more. So I got a little bit of data, and I think some other people did because I saw some Twitter, some tweets from people saying I was just told blah blah blah. I think we expected it though, right? I mean,
I actually didn't. I didn't even think of that.
Really?
Though. I didn't think.
I guess it was the spaceships and the constant upgrades where they didn't make sense in Destiny.
It seems like a natural fit.
They were just cosmetic.
They were just cosmetic. And I was like, oh, great. It's a Monster-sponsored fucking spaceship. Like, what is that? It's like painted like this. It's like, hello. Who gives a shit? But if you're flying around and if Maddie kills me in his monster TIE fighter, I'm going to be pissed. And that will work.
True.
I think Lone said it right. It's a natural progression. I think it makes perfect sense.
That would be awesome.
I can't wait. Yeah, if that's in there, I'm going to be stoked to see if it's good. Definitely stoked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on the space battles in Battlefront per se. I think part of it's the controls. I don't think DICE has ever made good airborne fucking controls in any game I've ever played.
Never.
It's so hard. But if they are good, which I'd imagine they are going to be, then I think Destiny 2 could have some cool space battles. Like I said, especially if they carry over some of the personalization. I hope they take it a step further though. But if they carry over some of that personalization, where it's like, this is my ship, and I just killed you with that, and like people are like, whoa, that's awesome. Kind of like I think of it this way: the emblems in Call of Duty. I thought that was such a fucking good idea, because that was something that always wowed me. You see this like actual art on someone's gun and think, whoa. And I think they also let you start customizing your own camos at one point. And you know, it's just, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Because then you can mix and match not only the camos, but the emblem can blend into the camo. So I hope they bring that type of personalization to the table with Destiny 2 when it comes not only to your guns, but since we're talking about the spaceships, because I think that'll be the big thing that you do there. Do you think they're going to let you like customize it with like different types of guns on them and all that type of stuff?
I do. I honestly, I don't know if you guys agree, but I have this weird feeling that the HUD is going to, well, I know that there are some changes to the HUD coming up, but the HUD's going to look pretty much the same for a person or a ship. And you'll go to the ship and you'll upgrade it. And that's, there's some stuff out there that I'm just waiting to see if it turns out to be true before because this is a new person I'm talking to. But if it all turns out to be true, and it seems to be, then it is a natural progression of like, okay, we all knew Destiny 1 had written them into a corner. Even just the way the codex information's on websites, they had to destroy everything. So we're all talking about that prior. We're like, they're going to, have like the good guys have their area destroyed, and then, you're going to reset everything so that you can sort of get your game set up the way it should have been since day one. And I think Destiny 1 wanted space battles. And I think to them, it's just like, okay, let's fix the things we were missing in 1. And it seems like they are. If you listen to what they're saying, it seems like a lot of what they're saying is very geared towards indicating weaknesses that gamers who even like it have had. Not necessarily gamers who don't like it, but gamers who like it and still have issues. It seems like they're pinpointing those people and going, okay, I get what you're saying. Like, you would like it more if... And they're like, yeah, that, we expected this game to have it. That's what I expect. I expect that we will start seeing that. Randoms will go away, so you can do raids with, or you'll be able to do raids with randoms and stuff like that, which I think is already fixed in Destiny. I can't remember.
It is.
Yeah, but party systems, clans, stuff like that, I would hope to see. None of this was leaked to me. I'm saying out loud. I would love to see, some bonuses for that, but. I do. I think the ships will be completely customized.
Tie the ships into the raids, maybe, in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be... I'm stoked for it because I enjoyed Destiny for what it was. Don't love it or anything. But I can't wait to see what they try to do, because it seems like a company who knows that they could have had a tremendous amount of success, but just had really good success, if that makes sense.
For me, and I wouldn't say it was my enemy, but... I will call it that. My enemy with Destiny was that I didn't have enough patience with the game, because I defended it at first. I was like, look, it's not like a big flop like everyone's saying. I said I enjoy it for what it is. Don't get me wrong, the story's terrible, but there's a lot to like here. And it's just that I felt they didn't address the problems soon enough. Yeah. It felt like as I paid attention after launch, like, okay, I want to hop in. That it took a while for them to fix the things I wanted. I was already on to another game by that point.
For sure.
Where now it's like I'm optimistic. I hope that Destiny 2 looks good, where I will be intrigued, which I'm assuming it will be. I've heard they've had really good streams with Destiny 1 and revealing stuff where they're pretty good with that. Where I'm looking into maybe picking up Destiny 1 again, that collection with all the DLC and stuff, and just catching up on everything that I had missed and seeing how Destiny has evolved, and maybe it'll actually be a game that I can enjoy again. So, fingers crossed on that one, because I played a lot of Destiny multiplayer. Played a lot of that, but the single player part of the game, I was done with that so fast because I could not stand the grind. At least with multiplayer, I know what I'm playing is endless, and that's why you go there. But when you go to a single player thing and it's just that endless grind, it just becomes so mentally wearing on you.
Yeah.
But what about you, Lone? Did you play it?
I did play Destiny 1, and like many people, after a while, I just let it go. But how often have we seen the example of a brand new IP, even if it's a developer that has experience, like with Halo, for instance, like Bungie was proven, but every time it's a new IP, the first game is usually not all the time, but usually not the greatest, and then they improve upon it in the second game. And I think everyone, I'm not going to say what people shouldn't do, but I think it would be good if everyone just gave the second one a go, and then if then they haven't listened to feedback and incorporated people's views based on the feedback they received for the first game, then I think people have a legitimate reason to be upset. But when it's the first game and they're trying something different, something new that they haven't done, something different for years because they were doing Halo for so long, then just give them a chance. And then if it doesn't work out, then I can see why you'd be upset.
Did you guys play the grind caves like I did? So they right at the starting of the game, somebody found a cave that continually spawned enemies.
Oh, I heard about that.
So I have some videos on my channel. Right when I started the channel, I did a couple videos telling people where to go. And so Maddie was talking about the grind, and my brain was like, what grind? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, it's because I jumped in there before they patched them. They were patching them like daily, and I was finding a new place. We were just, all you would do is just go, gag, 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 and the bad guys would go, gag, 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 and you just fucking shit was flying out of them, and you're like, oh yeah. Because there was a grind. And I hope that grind, have we ever seen, actually, let's turn this around. Do you guys know of an example of a game that is really done end play correctly, to where like the grind isn't extended just because they don't have content? Is there a game out there where it feels right? Because I don't know of one, and that I don't know how they would even do it. But
I thought
I'd say
Fantasy
Borderlands,
15.
maybe.
I thought Final Fantasy 15, as a recent example, had really good New Game Plus. Personally, I thought it added new dungeons. There were still quests left to do because it's such a big game. I thought, that was one. I wouldn't say that was like the definitive way. When I think of New Game Plus, out of all games, I always think of, and I don't know why, I don't think I'd say it's because I think it's the best version, but I think of Batman Arkham City. I just think of how when you start over, they add new challenges to combat.
Right.
They give you, different difficulty options. I think like one's turning out the HUD, so you have to actually watch enemies coming in and getting ready to strike you. They send more your way. I think there's extra challenges and stuff. I'm not sure on that one. But they add to it. They don't make it a grind. And so I think that's a game that does the end game stuff right. Especially in a Batman game. You don't really expect that in those types of games. So that was so long ago. But in terms of open world, it's hard to find a lot of games that don't become a little tedious after you roll the credits. And I think that's because Lone, you touched on this last week, that you usually leave that main quest and it keeps you going.
Yeah.
And when it's gone, it feels like maybe that ultimate goal's gone, so it's like all this side stuff becomes a little more tedious than you originally realized.
Yeah, but what I was thinking in terms of games that, even after you finish the main story, but I think the Borderlands games are a perfect example of just that kind of grind that you can do that's still fun because you're playing with mates. So, you'll get to the end of a playthrough and think, well, I'm not the max level yet. I'll keep playing. I'll keep doing side quests and farming the main boss.
Orange gear or legendary.
Yeah, you got to get all legendary gear, find as many rare weapons as you can, use as many golden keys as you have, and it's still fun. And then you can be like, all right, you know what? I want to start a new character, and I'll play that character, even though I've done the quests and the main story a million times, even though I've killed Karak a million times. Mm-hmm. You'll still do it, and it's fun, like, at least to me anyways.
Yeah.
You know what? I guess when you look at all these games, we don't see a game that says that, or we see games that try to get away from the end grind, but they really just add it. They'll be like, okay, you want, for example, Neverwinter. It's a free MMO, and you play it, and once you get a guild, it'll be like, do you want to build a guild hall? And you'll be like, okay, and then you'll go and look at the resources, and it's 8 bajillion pieces of logs, 8 quadrillion, and you're just looking at the numbers going, what the and that's the grind. What I'm talking about is like, is there a game out there that doesn't have grind, but in some way changes the mechanics at the end game to make it feel like there's something poignant to do? Because grind is fine. I get that, and I get most games have it, but there's a reason why most games have it, because I don't think any game's figured it out yet. Mm-hmm. There has to be something you can do, new mechanics, to make it feel like.
Then that's probably why I think of Arkham City right away, because it does add.
Because it does. You gave really good examples. Those are examples, I think, of what I would like to see. But I just don't want to go to the same fucking cave in Destiny, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do that.
I completely agree.
I get that.
Oh, it's so soul crushing to see the same fucking cave the 4,000th time.
But it's like, with Destiny's identity, how did they escape that? I think every week they change something with the raids, I've heard. But how do you escape that? I mean, they have the multiplayer mode, but it's like I don't view Destiny as a game where the single player just ends. Didn't we say that they're going open world with Destiny 2, apparently? That was a rumor or whatever?
Yeah, it's not the weird hub thingy that they've got.
I mean, maybe you roll credits and characters you've interacted throughout the story with that you've had an impact on. They have more quests to offer. I've always liked that in my New Game Plus and open worlds where like characters you've talked with are like, you know, okay, the main adventure's over, but like, you know, that doesn't mean that our job's done. And so you go to them and talk to them. And that's what I liked about Final Fantasy 15 is you'll go back to these characters and, you know, you'll talk to different people that you previously interacted with, and they'll still have, you know, the world moves on is what I'm saying. It's not just because your adventure is over. It doesn't mean the whole world is done. So, yeah, I think that would be a good idea for starters, at least.
I also think, you know, if somebody got, people are going to be pissed when I say the word, but if somebody could figure out proper procedurally generated encounters, then if there was a Badlands in Destiny where once you got to a certain level, they were like, you can go to these Badlands. We don't know what the fuck's going to happen there. And there's some special stuff, but it's not really a grind. It's more of a like, what will I see? Because I think what happens, a lot of developers culture their encounters too much. They smooth them out too much. They polish them too much. And sometimes I want a little rawness in there. Like I want a little uncomfortable glitchiness, not glitchiness, but a clumsiness in an encounter where they're way more powerful than I thought. Because that's what elevates your emotion in the moment. I think if it's fucking motor set to feel identical every time, it doesn't feel as good.
Yeah, I think the loot RNG has lost its touch a little bit.
It has. That's a good point.
Even I wouldn't speak for Borderlands. I haven't played it in a while where I don't know if that would still keep me gripped, because I think a lot of what keeps me gripped in Borderlands is the personalities. Like, obviously, the loot and shoot is a lot of fun. But I don't know how well that would work nowadays. So it's like there's this next step that a game needs to take to elevate that New Game Plus, that continuous playthroughs. And now that I think about it, there hasn't been many games where I've had that New Game Plus where I start up right away, and I'm going right back to it again. I can't think outside of Final Fantasy 15, which really wasn't the most spectacular New Game Plus, but Arkham City was a game I beat. I was wowed by the ending, and they offered me New Game Plus, and I literally right again.
That's awesome.
I don't remember last time I did that. I really do not. I will beat a game, and it'll say you got New Game Plus. I'll load in. I'll walk around for like another 20 minutes, and I'll shut it down. And, you know, maybe I'll come back later on. But with Batman Arkham City, I remember clear as day just being like, oh my god, there's more.
That's
and that
so
sounds
cool.
awesome, and just firing it back up. And I really, you know, now that you've said this, Karak, it's like I really want that. You know, I really want that good New Game Plus, because I haven't had it in a while.
And here's the thing, we all talk about hours, and I know Lone doesn't get to play as many as us. You know, we've talked about his time. He doesn't have as much time for games, but it's like when we're playing these games, we all sort of either you don't finish it, right? And you're just like, okay, I'm not going to get back to it. Or you do finish it and you're like, well, that was fun. But as Lone said, you have to hold the main mission aside. So like you're holding it captive because it's the only thing that's a fucking carrot for your dumbass donkey, right? But if there was a game like if Arkham City, for example, if I'm playing Destiny and I finish the thing and the credits roll and they give me my new set of armor and then they're like, you thought you were done? That's just the beginning. And there's, you know, especially as those quests and how they're doled out, you could do that. It seems like every game we play now is just a grind. It's just so fucking grindy. It's so samey. Even if they're giving you new places, it's like here's a cave. Go into the cave. Do these 4 things. You're like, fuck, man, really? I mean, who hasn't cleaned these caves out by now?
Some games like just don't even bother with New Game Plus. Horizon Zero Dawn, it has like I guess you call it New Game Plus, but it's really just finish up what you left.
It is. That's all it is.
And it's like some games don't even bother nowadays.
New game continued is what that is, basically.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You know? But if Horizon Zero Dawn, what if just not all, but some of the dinosaurs were far stronger, and some of the locations were slightly, you know, changed up. I think that a developer doing work up front prior to the game's release on those things would see it returned by people still playing it, like Two Worlds. 7,000
I can't think of a specific game, but it would be awesome if we had this pretty serious game. We'll take I can't think of a kind of linear. We'll take Call of Duty just as an example. Just think of a game that has like a similar COD campaign. You wrap it up, and it's like, all right, time for New Game Plus. I'd love it if they just fucking kick the wheels off and they like cheat codes, crazy fucking weaponry.
So would I.
You know, just something you really don't see in the whole game. Like, this is really serious narrative, but you're running around with like dual laser pistols in this World War II environment or something.
Dressed as a Smurf, and people are like, what the fuck? It would be better if they reacted.
That would be
They're
fun,
like,
actually.
It's an alien. That would be, I hope we start to see that as developers realize people want to like their games for longer periods of time. Mm-hmm. They do. And ranged and lottery systems need to go the way of the dodo. It's done. It needs to stop.
Here's a cool example. I mean, it's DLC, but I'm just saying this is, I guess, kind of what I was getting at with just kind of saying let's do something wild. Is I think Nier Automata, or is it Automata? I'm not sure which.
Automata.
Automata. Sorry.
Automata.
Mind you, this is DLC, but it's a pretty serious game. I haven't played it yet. I really want to, but there's a DLC where you fight the CEO of Square Enix. It's just like, it's like, what the fuck? All right, like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so wild,
fantastic.
it's so random, but it just sounds like a fun, random idea. Now, I don't know if it's free or not, but I imagine it's not. But still, that's so cool, that's so different, and that would compel me to come back and be like, I can beat up the CEO of Square Enix. I don't know the guy, but fuck it, let's go.
Sign me up.
Exactly, sign me up. So I think like going a little crazy with it, almost a Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Where
it's just a complete flip of the switch. I think that would be cool for a New Game Plus as well.
Do you guys remember the original Far Cry allowed you to change your graphics? Do you remember that, Matty?
No,
the
I
original.
Never played the original. I started with 2.
It allowed you to do. There were 4 or 5 shader options, so you could do like cold, pencil drawing, cartoon, and you could change the way the world drew because it was applying shaders. And I was telling a friend one day, I'm like, why is that not in every game? I want to turn Call of Duty, World at War, Tron. Like, I want to hit a button that says fucking Tron, and it doesn't have to change anything other than the highlights and the way, it applies the shaders. Those little options would get me to fucking play the game again. And it has. Yeah. It has. In every one of those games where something weird has been offered, I have returned to it and
I've
played
seen that somewhere else where you could change the
Xbox One, or original Xbox, had a racing game where you were in cars all the time, and it was called like Tokyo Extreme. It wasn't Tokyo Extreme Racing, but on your replays, you could switch between like 40 shaders, because this was just when NVIDIA and ATI at the time were figuring out applied shaders, and they could apply it to anything. And so you'd have like negative, you'd have like predator vision, you'd have all these weird
I remember
things.
seeing this in a game recently. I don't know why I can't remember.
Oh, recently. Gotcha.
Or not recently, but around, I've played it within a year or 2, I swear.
We should get a developer on one of these days, like Matty, contact somebody and have them come on and talk to them about end-game stuff. Because I would love to sit down with somebody and say, does the conversation ever come up that, those people who like your game would continue to play it if and like, how does an N plus happen? How does a New Game Plus happen?
Yeah,
and then
here's the thing that, not to interrupt you, but I just thought, here's that maybe we haven't considered, is that maybe they think, or we could sell it, and they cut it off for DLC. They could just do that, right? Like, here,
Zelda's selling a difficulty, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of
exactly. Is like, Zelda's pretty difficult, and so
it's pretty hard on its own.
Yeah,
on its own. Yeah.
So my thoughts are like, maybe the reason we don't see New Game Plus anymore is because you'll see these. I know I was just praising it a second ago, but you'll see this random Square Enix boss. You'll see all these potential things that could add to the game being sold as DLC instead of just there. And it's like, okay, this is the game. We've created all we can. Now let's think about what we're going to sell.
At some point, a developer has to identify that doing that kind of stuff, people pick up on it at some point. It's like, reward the gamer up front and see what happens. And we don't have a lot of games that do that. We've got some, but we don't have a lot of games where, when was the last time any of us looked at a game? Lone, do you remember a game you looked at and were like, I got twice as much as I expected for $60? Like, does that happen? Very much?
I don't know, because you usually know the games that are very long that are going to be very long. Like, I usually check that stuff beforehand, so I've never really been surprised in that sense. Like, there's so much to do, because I've pretty much read up on the game beforehand.
Right. It just seems like it would be nice to occasionally be surprised by that. And that's another thing. They tell us too much. How many times have you guys played a game and been like, I already know who the bad guy is because these fuckers can't cut a trailer correctly.
Yeah.
So it's like, instead, surprise me with a game mode. I would love some mystery. I would love some mystery. I think I'm just getting older and it's all gone. But I would love to turn on a game and go, wait, I didn't read anything about this special mode. Oh, yeah, we didn't say anything. You know, jump in there and see what happens. Be like,
yeah, I've never had that.
Yeah, that would be so fucking cool. And I think that would work to sort. There's a lack of excitement sometimes from the
Actually, you know what? This is what I do remember. It was World at War when you finished the campaign. The zombies mode opened up. I didn't know about that.
Oh,
so
really?
When you finish the campaign, zombies opens up. You're like, holy shit! There's this whole new mode, and then it started this phenomenon. I remember that now. Okay, so that was one example. It was probably on the internet, but I just never checked.
Right. Yeah. Well, and what was it? Advanced Warfare was the one where once you beat the main game, you could play the remix of the levels where it was about zombies instead of the original, and that was cool too. I like those. I like those ads where it sort of makes you like look at it in a different way, and it. Yeah. I mean, it's just sad that we don't see that very much. But
yeah, I mean,
what do you got, Eddie? Anything else?
I was looking at for a price point for that DLC, and all it has is a release date in May. The one from Nier Automata, because I was curious, and yeah, I couldn't find anything. They said 1,500 yen, so I don't know how much that translates into US dollars.
That's like $4.99.
Oh, okay, there you go. So pretty cheap DLC, but makes you wonder like if they could sell that separately or just give it to you for free. Then you go down to entitlement. But yeah, I'd love to see the discussion behind New Game Plus content. And just like,
that'd be a blast.
They decide what do we expand upon and sell. Like, because here's the thing is, let's look at like a Bethesda Game Studios game. I'd rather them, after the game comes out, sit down and go, okay, you know, I'd rather them make a Far Harbor, and I'd pay for that.
Right.
Instead of trying to stuff some small little island that really isn't that finished up and like say like, oh, New Game Plus content here, and like you go to this little island, it takes like 5 minutes, you're done. So yeah, I agree though that the best feeling is like the your adventure's not done yet. That little text you get at the end. It's just that it's got to offer me something compelling, not just like you can go back to the main world and finish what you missed. It's like, okay, that's relieving in a way if I'm you know, but it's like I'd like to hear like you can also do X, Y, and Z. So I'm trying to
I'm hoping we see some. I think a lot of it is down to cost and stuff, but at some point companies are going to have to start meeting people.
I thought of a decent idea or a decent game that I thought had New Game Plus, right, which was Pokemon Moon. A lot of new locations opened up once you beat the game.
Oh, gotcha.
And like new trainer battles you could do. There's a decent amount left undone. Not as much as previous Pokemon games though, but there's a good amount where it's one of those like, oh, your adventure's not done yet. So once I beat the game, like, oh, I had some other stuff to do. But I think Nintendo games have been pretty good with that type of stuff. Dragon Ball Fusions, that's kind of an RNG game though. Okay, here's a good one. I've talked about Danganronpa a lot on the podcast, and I apologize for flinging out Japanese games now. But well, no, because this game is like a, you know, it's a murder mystery, Persona social link kind of game. But once you beat the game, it unlocks this new mode called School Mode, and what happens is at the end you end up being able to like assign people to different rooms, and they'll clean or they'll work. And then you can like hang out with them more, progress your social links more on your off days, and you have to resource manage. It's a completely different game, really.
And that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And that's, now that I think about it, that's a really good one. The sad part is I actually didn't have enough time to really delve deep into that. So I think that's why they didn't come to mind. But that's a really good example of one because characters like die and stuff, so you might end up missing out on certain things.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. So that New Game Plus helps out a lot.
Yeah, I would love something like that in more games, at least.
Yeah. But that's all we have to talk about today. Unless there's any other topics?
We always say that's all, and then it's like, boom!
It's like, but wait, there's more.
I know, and what's funny is we all started out and we were all quiet. Like fucking Maddie's writing his notes. I had a migraine and I was just sitting here and Lone's a little quiet. And then it starts and it ramps up. And about 10 minutes in, I was like, damn. Like, it doesn't take long.
So now it's time for the H.A.M Radio Podcast New Game Plus.
Yeah.
And there's more.
Oh, we're not done yet.
You just spoiled it. That would have been so fucking awesome if the next podcast we had pretended we were done, left it running quiet black, and then it was like,
oh, that'd be fucking
New
crazy.
Game Plus. Damn it. Well, we can still do it because a lot of people are probably turned us off hours ago.
They've turned off, exactly.
All right. Well, if there's not any other news to cover, then I guess that'll do it.
Nope, that's it for me.
All right.
Yeah, sweet.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for your time. It was a blast as always. Thank you
Indeed.
to the listener for staying tuned with us so long. If you didn't tune us out already.
Just the listener.
Yeah. The one listener.
You know what? If you're still listening at this point, tweet out at us #New Game Plus, and we'll know who's listening.
That's how
at the
we'll
end.
know. That's how we'll know.
We will.
That's a good idea.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. Thank you to the listeners for staying tuned with us for so long. And we'll catch you guys in next week's episode.
Peace out.
Peace.